Welcome to ForexTV.com. Today is Thursday, December 18th. I'm Kathleen Reddington with your New York Forex Market Buzz. Taking a look at the latest headlines from the CEP News Desk, manufacturing in the region covering eastern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, and Delaware bounced back up to negative 32.9 in December after plunging to an 18-year low in prior months. Economists had expected business activity to worsen in December to negative 40.5. Initial jobless claims for unemployment benefits in the U.S. eased from their record levels reached last week, with 554,000 people filing for benefits in the week ending December 13th. Initial jobless claims were forecast to fall back to 558,000. Retail sales volume in the U.K. surprised to the upside, rising 3% from October to November. Economists had expected a decline of 0.6% in sales. Falling prices led Canadian retail sales into negative territory in October. Sales totaled $35.9 billion in the month, a drop of 0.9% from September, slightly better than the consensus expectation of negative 1.1%. Today we are joined by Dustin Reed of ABN AMRO. Hi Dustin, how are you today?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm doing well. All right, so the yen has been falling fast all morning because of the Japanese government's possible intentions to intervene in the currency market. If the currency continues to fall just by them saying they're going to intervene, do you think that they'll need to intervene in the long run?
No, they probably would not need to intervene under that scenario that you mentioned. There are numerous types of intervention, and one of them is, well used by central bankers, and that being verbal intervention, i.e. the threat or the notion of actual direct intervention into FX markets. It appears that there's been some success from the Japanese government this morning and overnight in terms of following through on verbal intervention. But the longer-term issue, though, is that if the market tests the BOJ or the Japanese government's resolve, there's always the chance that the market might not believe the government in the long term. Similar to the story of the boy who cried wolf, so to speak, and then the BOJ would probably have to come in and intervene in the market directly.
Now, what methods do you think they would take if they did have to intervene directly with the currency market?
I'm sorry, at what level?
What like methods do you think they would use to intervene?
I think they would probably need to come in, relatively aggressively, if they did come in, and then they would probably say that we're not going to stand for this. Our exporters are suffering, and our from a fundamental point of view, the currency is exceptionally overvalued, which is typically how, most major central banks have messaged, some sort of intervention, including the Japanese in the past. So, suspect that they would say that the yen's overvalued from a fundamental perspective.
What is your strategy for yen today? Are you just going to avoid it?
Yeah, it's probably better to avoid it given what's happening in what's happening in FX markets in general. I think I think yen has some longer term ability to appreciate against the dollar and possibly against the euro, but it's exceptionally whippy, and I would try and avoid it, this close to year end on thinner liquidity, in markets overall.
All right, now let's change gears a little bit. The pound fell to the euro as there is speculation that the BOE may follow in the Fed's footsteps and cut rates to zero. Do you think that will happen?
I don't think they'll go to zero, but we are looking for them to cut rates, for the BOE to cut rates to 0.5%. I think early Q2 next year is our latest view, and we can see that essentially as the cycle low. I don't think we're going to necessarily have a zero interest rate policy or a de facto zero interest rate policy across the board within the G7. I don't think that everyone's going to want to necessarily adopt to that mandate. But coming back to the BOE, I think it's unlikely at this point that they're going to go to zero. Inflation, first of all, is still too high, and I think they still want to, not give money away for free. So at this point, we'll probably continue to target a cycle low of 50 basis points.
All right, and do you have a pound strategy for today, or is that on the naughty list with the yen?
Well, it's tough. It's a tough one to call too. I mean, we've had had essentially a six-figure range in sterling dollar today. Actually, more than a six-figure range in sterling dollar today. So extremely volatile with sterling dollar lower throughout the duration of the duration of London and North America. I think for the rest of today, it's probably going to consolidate. But again, similar to the yen outlook for the rest of the year, I think I'm expecting more volatility, much higher than historical averages, with no clear direction, before year end on relatively thin liquidity in markets.
All right, Dustin, thanks for being on the show today.
You're very welcome.
This has been your New York Forex Market Buzz with Dustin Reed of ABN AMRO. I'm Kathleen Reddington. Join us later this afternoon, 4 p.m. exchange, right here on ForexTV.com.